right, so we are live. Well, we're actually recording. Just want to say hello to everybody who is tuning in to our virtual town hall meeting. Unfortunately, we've had some technical difficulties today, so we were unable to stream this live. However, this is recorded. A recorded segment. We'll be sure to share our guest contact information in case you have any questions, because that will be the only challenge with not doing this live, is not being able to receive your comments or your questions during the commentary during the presentation. However, we will make sure that you get the information that you need, as well as the contact information for any follow-up questions, comments, discussion on this topic. So we are hosting our weekly virtual town hall meeting. This week's topic focuses on housing and how we can address and be creative about addressing solutions to meet the need of our workforce, meet the need of those who are living below the poverty line, and just meet the need of those who want housing options here in Gwinnett County. And so I have two guests with me, and I'll introduce them a little bit later. And they have been leaders on the forefront of addressing housing issues in Gwinnett County. We're going to talk about all of the different programs that are available to Gwinnetians. We're going to talk about a creative model that I always reference in the city of Norcross, which I think is a great example of a public-private partnership on how we're addressing housing solutions. And we'll talk about what we need to do moving forward. You know, we're going to be growing as a county, and people are going to be flocking to Gwinnett. And I think it's key that we have leaders in place that are cognizant of the options and the choices that we need to present to the people who are choosing to make Gwinnett County their home. And while we have the options in place, I personally think that there's more that can be done and more that we need to do. This is one of my platform issues, and one that I'm very passionate about, is making sure that we are providing those options to everybody, and that everybody has the option to have a home where they're proud to call home, that it's sustainable, it's a quality housing, and it meets the need of various income levels. So with that, we'll get started on some quick updates with the campaign. Today is Friday, and we are nearing closing out our early voting, advanced in-person voting, which started on Monday. And we have had a record-breaking turnout in this very historic election. More people voted in this election cycle than they did 4 years ago in the presidential election cycle. People are energized, people are excited. Today, we'll actually have elections that will go through the weekend. So today is not the last day of the first week. We actually do have precincts open tomorrow and Sunday. So if you did not get to the polls, you still have tomorrow, you have Sunday, you have all next week, the Saturday and Sunday after that, all the way through October 30th. So remember, there are 3 weeks of early voting, advanced in-person voting at 9 locations throughout the county, to include the Gwinnett Elections Office, which is open during their normal business hours from 8 to 5. All of the other locations are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Those are housed both on my website. You can go to loveforgwinnett.com/vote and get all of your information on elections, your voting locations, times, where absentee ballot drop boxes are, how to apply for an absentee ballot. All things elections you can find at loveforgwinnett.com/vote. So visit the website and get information. I housed it all in one location for you to make it easy and accessible. And whatever you do, I hope that you exercise your most sacred right, and that is voting. And make sure that when you do go to the polls, you go from the top all the way down to the bottom. Don't get ballot fatigue. We have a lot of local elections that are counting on your vote, that need your that want your representation. Make sure you also vote for the referenda. Transit, vote yes. eSplost, vote yes. There are also ballot initiatives, amendments and ballot initiatives at the bottom as well, and I break those down on my Facebook page, so be sure to follow me at Love for Gwinnett. for a breakdown of those ballot measures as well, so that you can get an understanding of how to vote for those. But I'm going to go ahead and say vote yes to all of those ballot amendments as well. So as far as the campaign, you know, we're always continuously seeking volunteers. However, the biggest need that we have right now, and we are coordinating with the Gwinnett Democratic Party to sign up line warmers. We are going to be in desperate need from now until Election Day to help make sure that voters stay in line. And I will be sharing that link as well on my social media, and we'll be sharing that out through email and through all our communications mediums. We want to make sure that as people get to those lines, even if there are very long lines, that people don't give up, that they stay in line. So line warmers usually are there to provide water, maybe a chair, maybe some snacks. Maybe they'll communicate with voters who are showing up to the polls. The elderly, those with disabilities, and even pregnant women have the ability to go straight to the front of the line and have easy access. And so it's also about communicating with those who just cannot bear to stand in long lines. And so if you're somebody who can dedicate some time on one of the early voting days or on election day at one of the precincts, we absolutely could use your help. So please consider being a line warmer. As far as my campaign, we're always looking for volunteers to phone bank, text bank, write postcards, sign wave at the different precincts. You'll get a cool t-shirt, but lots of fun. A lot of candidates, of course, are recruiting volunteers, and I as well can always use your help. So you can always sign up at loveforgwinnett.com if you want to support my campaign directly. All right, so that is it. That's all I have for the quick updates. Just follow my social media page for more information as we keep you abreast of how things are happening with elections. And with that, we're gonna turn it over to our guest to start talking about housing, affordable housing, workforce housing solutions, and all of the above. So my first guest, I want to introduce you to Erica Fambro. She is the director of Gwinnett County's Community Development Program, and many people in the county are not aware that the county government, we actually have a community development program that specifically addresses affordable housing. And so I wanted to invite Erica on the program to share and give an overview of the community development program, what programs and services they offer, how are they identifying those who need affordable housing? What does that look like in Gwinnett? Who is accessing these programs and services? And so I'll go ahead and turn it over to Erica, and why don't you introduce yourself and talk about how long you've been with the community development program, and what is the program and what do you guys offer?
All right, well, thank you so much. I am the director of the Community Development Program here in Gwinnett County. You guys will see me broadcasting from my car today. I'm actually on my way out of town, but I could not miss an opportunity to talk about affordable housing in the community. It's such an important topic. And it seems to be something that a lot more people are taking interest in. So I could not miss an opportunity to talk about all of the good things that we are doing in the community, and particularly through the community development program. So the county receives funding from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So that's a federal grant program for the county, and we get about $2.5 million annually that we use exclusively for affordable housing opportunities. And a lot of those opportunities are home ownership opportunities for people in the county that meet certain income requirements. Annually, we probably serve anywhere from maybe about 40 clients a year. So that's inclusive of building affordable housing through our nonprofit partners and through our home ownership program. So it's a down payment assistance program. So sometimes people need just a little push ahead with those closing costs and things of that nature. And the county can provide up to $7,500 for a person to become a first-time homeowner. And we have a lot of success with that program. and many of the people that have accessed that program, they do not foreclose on their homes. They've been homeowners for, 10 plus years, and it's really a sight to see. So our programs are really good for the community. We are serving people on a daily basis. And one of the things, the need has become so great at this point. Our nonprofit partners are now seeing that it's important for them to leverage those resources with the private sector. And so we're really moving in that direction. So it's really a wonderful thing to see in the community, how we're leveraging those dollars to take those, the $2 million that we get annually, and we can leverage that to several more millions of dollars to provide those home ownership opportunities. It's just a wonderful thing to see.
Thank you for that. And so there's a lot of misconception about what affordable housing is, and people always give it a negative rap. They think, oh, it's public housing, it's subsidized housing, it's housing in sketchy areas, and people always go to a certain image when you say affordable housing. So can you give us and paint the picture of what affordable housing actually is and what that means for the people that are served under in your programs?
Sure. And when we're talking about affordable housing, this is housing that's affordable to the vast majority of people in the community. So when you think about that, you think about your teachers, your bankers, your firemen,
safety,
police officers. All of these people are fitting in the criteria to receive the assistance that we're providing. I think it's sometimes a misnomer. The homes that we're that are sold through our program sometimes are upwards of $175,000 to $200,000. So this is not a person that's just kind of sitting at home and not really earning income. These are people that are out here teaching your kids, or protecting us as far as your police officers, your firemen, your public safety people. So you have to think about that. It's not this misconception of there are families that don't want to do anything, or they just want to live off the government and things of that nature. That's not what it is. So we do really have to just really to change the face of that, and to really show that everyone deserves a nice place to live, a decent place to live, and we have opportunities to assist them in doing that.
And currently, how many people are being served? So what are all the different programs that you have right now that are offered, and how many people are currently being served in Gwinnett?
Sure. Through our affordable housing initiatives, we work primarily with nonprofit organizations that build affordable housing. So annually, they may build about, I'd say 10 to 15 houses annually. And and that's with $2 million. So obviously we're leveraging some other resources to get that done. We have some exciting opportunities coming up with some multifamily projects and things of that nature. So that's really gonna, it's really gonna give some additional opportunities in the rental sector. So we talked earlier about the home ownership side. So obviously, when we're building housing, that's going to be more expensive. It's something that's going to be a slow process, but it's a tried and true process. So we can have, we can assist those people with becoming homeowners, but everybody's not ready for home ownership. That doesn't mean they're not a valuable part of the community. So we do have some rental opportunities as well, some multifamily housing that we're going to be rolling out in the next couple of years. So I would say annually we serve about 15 people, we build about 15 houses annually, build or rehab about 15 houses annually, and we serve about 40 clients annually with our down payment assistance program. So annually we're probably getting about 60 or so homeowners. So these are people who are going to be in Gwinnett, who have chosen Gwinnett as their home. They want to be here for the long haul. They're paying taxes in the community, and they're setting roots in the community. So this is important for us to talk about this.
Yeah. And how would people, if they've identified, I need housing options, how do they find out, how do they come to you? Are they referred through nonprofits? Do they just walk in off the street? What is the process to accessing those services?
Sure. All of the above. So our information is included in searches on Google and things like that. So oftentimes people find us by searching affordable housing opportunities or, assistance for down payment assistance and things like that. Our information is included on the HUD website. So anybody that visits HUD or calls HUD, they'll get my email address. And so I get those phone calls quite often with people looking for assistance. So one of the ways that they can reach us from the Gwinnett County site through the Community Development Program. So all of the information is included there. They can call us. They sometimes, hear about us through word of mouth. So maybe a friend or a coworker use the program and they're learning about it that way. So there are many, many avenues for people to take advantage of the program. And if you'd like, I'd be happy to provide phone numbers and things like that, or maybe you want to share it on your website.
Yes, absolutely. Would share that as a resource on my Facebook page.
Sure.
And after we share this link, I'll include that in the comment section. And then lastly, so how does housing and urban development determine what Gwinnett County's share of resources is? And that's the big, where you get the biggest block of funds, right? But how do they determine? Is it based on what the population is that falls below the poverty line? What is that formula?
It is based on Gwinnett County's population. It's based on the number of people that fall within that poverty line. And it's based off of a formula. So Gwinnett County is a large enough county that they get what we call an entitlement. So they're going to get their money as long as the population stays the same. And the threshold for the population is well below what Gwinnett County is. We far exceeded that amount. So that's how HUD determines what we're going to get annually. And we typically get about $2 million. So we're usually somewhere in the 1.9 to 2.3 million that we'll get annually to exclusively for affordable housing. We have other grant programs that we manage that can supplement that affordable housing component, but the home program, and it's called the Home Investment Partnerships Program. That program is exclusively for affordable housing, whether it's home ownership opportunities or rental opportunities.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that was a really good, quick overview. And so, just kind of stick around for some additional questions in case anything pops up.
Sure.
Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kathleen Allen. And I had the pleasure of having a great conversation. Kathleen had reached out to me a couple of months ago to talk about this amazing program that was happening in the city of Norcross that she was in the forefront of, and is an advocate, a very passionate supporter around all things housing affordability and making sure that the citizens of Gwinnett have options. And thought that Kathleen was involved in a really successful model of how to bring public-private partners together to address creative and outside the box solutions on how to address this, and leveraging support from the city of Norcross and county government and other partners in this effort. And I'm happy to introduce you to Ms. Kathleen Allen. And so welcome, Kathleen. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Yay.
So yes, my name is Kathleen Allen and I live in Norcross. I have for the last 14 years with my family. And I got involved with this effort through the city of Norcross's participation in what's called the GIC program. It's the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing. It's a 3-year program. We are just wrapping up our 3rd year now. And the committee that I chaired was the Transient Housing Committee. And what it was looking at was Norcross is really the epicenter of extended stay facilities as what is referred to as precarious housing. Okay, so there's stably housed people who are living in a home or an apartment. There are precariously housed people living in a situation like this, and then there are the homeless. And so these are the folks who are not homeless, but are definitely not stably housed. Okay, so the committee that I chaired knocked on the doors of every single extended stay in the city limits. There were 9 at the time that we did the survey. So we knocked on thousands of doors and talked to these residents about what their situations were. And then we presented our findings to the city of Norcross, and one of the city councilmen came up to me after the presentation in May of 2019 and said, if I gave you $100,000, what would you do? And I said, I don't know. But I know people who know, so let me ask them. And what came out of that was that the people that I know who are much more knowledgeable about this came together to put together a program. So I'd like to share my screen and just do, I'm not going to talk in detail about all these slides, but at least let people see them to sort of show you what this Motel to Home program is in the city of Norcross, and talk about how it is something that definitely could and should be expanded at the county level, because what we certainly know about extended stays is while there are, 9 of them in the city of Norcross, there are a number of them in unincorporated Gwinnett County, right outside the Norcross city limits, as well as in other parts of Gwinnett County farther north, in the Lawrenceville and those areas. So this is definitely an issue. Okay, let me share this. Okay, you see my screen? Big there? Okay. All right, so this is the Motel to Home program. We talk about this being a collaborative effort. It truly is. The city of Norcross put forward $25,000. The United Way matched that in $25,000 for the first year of the program. And then there are a number of other nonprofits that have participated in bringing the program together and running it over the course of 2020. The background really was that survey that we did. When we looked at the people who live in extended stays, 84% of the people we talked to said that this was their place of residence. And it had been for an extended period of time. 40% had lived there for more than a year, 22% for 3 or more years. So this is not transient housing. Well, that was what we called the committee, but that's not what these people are. They are precariously housed, but they're not transient. Many of these people, especially in the ones in the city of Norcross, choose to stay in the extended stays in the city of Norcross so their children can go to the Norcross cluster schools, which speaks very highly of our Gwinnett County public school system, These are also not the poorest of the poor. When Erica's talking about low-income working families, 69% of these folks had 1 or more full-time jobs, and 43% were owning over $2,000 a month. There's over $24,000 a year. So this is not the poorest of the poor. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense, because if you can't pay to stay in the extended stay that night, they're kicking you out. There's no 30-day eviction process, and that's changed a bit since COVID, and we can talk to that later. But prior to COVID, if you couldn't pay that night, you're in your car the next night. Okay, so these are folks who have to have an income to keep that roof over their heads. But the problem with living in an extended stay is they are very expensive. Folks who are paying, up to $2,000 a month. Well, that's the vast majority of their income. And when we talk about affordable housing and the work that Erica is doing with folks, the federal definition of affordable housing is that you're spending no more than 30% of your income on your rent or mortgage and your utilities. And that was just an eye-opening definition, even for some of our elected leaders in the city of Norcross, when we did this survey and presented it to them, because they thought about it and said, well, wow, I'm cost burdened. And I mean, there are people in many different types, socioeconomic neighborhoods in Gwinnett County who are cost burdened, who cannot find affordable housing for their income level. So we have this need for affordable housing at a variety of income levels, but we definitely needed it at the lower income levels of people who are steadily employed at low paying wages. If we need more employers to pay living wages, that certainly helps. But meanwhile, we need affordable housing options for folks. So the program came together over the course of late 2019. We identified qualified participants. So the city of Norcross said that the families had to have students in our public schools. That's how they picked the families. So they've worked with the school counselors to identify families in need. So we knew that, Summer Hour Middle School had 84 families with students living in extended stays, so we were able to identify families in need with students in our schools. The first thing that we did was help them figure out and obtain housing, work with them to increase their housing sustainability through skills building workshops. And then the goal of it is to help them remain housed. The program is not so simple that we just paid first and last month's rent and left them on their own. We had a series of courses where everyone got together at some local churches on a Saturday and had a conference style event, once a month to start learning these financial well-being, exercises and stuff and get partnerships, and they work with a case manager. And that was very helpful. The model has changed because of COVID, and I'll talk to that in a minute. The way that the program is set up is that it is, the pinnacle of the program is this participant, the mom, the dad, the parents, and then they are supported by a St. Vincent de Paul caseworker. St. Vincent de Paul is a Catholic lay ministry. And so all of their case managers are volunteers doing this work. And they agreed when they signed up for the program that they would work with the family for the course of the year and walk that path with them throughout the year. Then we need the support of apartment managers. We need them to rent to these folks coming out of extended stays. We also needed support from our nonprofit community. Certainly, United Way was tremendous financial support in matching the donation that the investment of the city of Norcross made. And then faith-based organizations in the Norcross area really stepped up. They've helped to get beds, they helped to provide food and meals when we have those Saturday events, and including, casseroles for the families to take home to heat in the microwave in the extended stay after a day, where they weren't working, and didn't have time to go to the market. So it really is a collaborative effort. The key elements of the Motel to Home program are: the money goes to paying first and last month's rent, some moving expenses, application fees like that. No money goes directly to the person, the participant family. It goes to whoever the money needs to be paid to, okay? This year-long commitment of a caseworker is tremendously important. It is not just handing over a key and leave thing. These workshops, well, they were in person for the first 3 months. They have since gone online because of COVID. But having those hard and soft skills that need to be taught and need to be coached and mentored is really important to having success, because what we don't want is to get somebody into an apartment that is less expensive than an extended stay, but where they don't have the financial resources and skill set to be able to stay there when the next hurdle arises. Because we all know stuff happens, and we've got to be able to have a network to support us and skills to get us beyond the next hurdle. So that's crucial. And then, what's really been important is getting property owners to understand the benefits of the program, to work with the caseworkers to keep these families housed for this first year, and give them that stability they need to be solid renters going forward, or future homeowners. So as of October, here's what we've done. We have had 14 families in the program, 4 couples, 1 single male head of household, 9 single female head of households, and some marrieds, the 4 couples. 35 children ages 1 to 18 have been involved in the program. Their average length of stay in a motel had been 3 years. So anywhere from 10 weeks to 6 years before they got out. Median credit score, 530. We're trying to get them up to 640 because that just makes life less expensive to be poor when your credit rating is better. And then their income levels vary widely, from as low as $2,800 to over $4,500. And then they are of comparable education to the rest of the, Gwinnett community. We have So far, out of the 14 families, housed 10. 3 of them have been housed in a Pathway Home, which was another nonprofit here in the area. We've got 4 families in apartments in the city of Norcross. The first year, the city of Norcross money was to house them in the city of Norcross. Money that the United Way donated could be housed outside of the city of Norcross. And so we've had a couple of families who were willing to give up living in the city of Norcross and going to Norcross schools if they could stay in Gwinnett County Public Schools and find a place that was less expensive. So, just trying to find affordable housing is really important, and so for some of these families, they just weren't earning enough to get into an apartment in the city. And these are some of the great ladies who have talked about what they have gotten out of their programs. So that some of the moms, knowledge, strength, discipline, and accountability, and hope, which is really inspiring. Our year-to-date spending gives you a little detail. We've spent about $17,000 out of the $50,000 total. So we've really not spent nearly what was budgeted. Part of that is that we haven't been able to house all the families. COVID sort of changed things a little bit. But on average, we've only spent less than $2,000 per family. They're moving into places that are a little less than $1,000 a month rent. Pardon me. Somebody didn't know they weren't supposed to call me. I apologize. And then we've gotten some other grants. The Summers Family Foundation gave us a $5,000 grant, which has been very helpful in getting some of these families not only beds, but job training and certification. We have a single father with a 16-year-old son who just went through training and passed his exam to be an insurance adjuster. And we have another mom in the program who had been a front office clerk in a medical office, went through training to be an EKG tech. So these are people moving, they just needed the money to get the training and take the test so they could get a better job and earn more money and be able to afford an even better apartment, which is really exciting. And then we've had lots of folks donate a variety of things to help these families out. I asked my mother-in-law for Christmas for money for the program. And so, some of those gift cards were, just community members who've helped to donate. And here's the lessons that we've learned, because it's really important when you're putting together a new program like this, to learn the first year and figure out what you need to change to make it better the second year. This is a program, the Motel to Home program had been started in College Park through the United Way, but ours has been a slightly different model here because of the St. Vincent de Paul work. So what we learned here is the dirty little secret of trying to rent, which is if you have ever got an eviction on your record, nobody's gonna rent to you. They will take your $100 to apply to their apartment complex and turn you down. And they won't tell you that the place across the street is owned by the same company, and they'll take your $100 that you've saved up the next month, and then they won't let you in. So working with apartment complexes to accept these families and know that they were going to get their first and last month rent and see that they have a caseworker and they've got the money that they would be paying less in rent than they pay at an extended stay has been really important, because otherwise you can't get in the door. That means you can't get out of where you are. Timing is everything. Many of these families are eligible for the earned income tax credit, and they're being able to pay off their debt at the beginning of the year with that EITC so that they can have money, to get into this program and pay rent is very important. But the problem is many of these folks have school debt, and those EITC gets garnished. So that means they can't pay off eviction debt. And it is just a cycle of staying in an extended stay. And then one of the biggest lessons was that it's really important when doing a program like this that the participants have someone to lean on and someone to be accountable to. That mentorship, that partnership is crucial to success. It is not as simple as handing over cash or handing over a key and walking away. This is a community problem. It has to be a community solution. And that has been the most inspiring part of it, is the work with these case managers and the other church graves in Norcross and the surrounding Gwinnett County to help these families. couple of other, lessons learned internal that, as I talked about really just a moment ago, there's no magic bullet. It just takes work. It's important to have a pathway for caseworkers to follow with benchmarks so that this is what I'm doing to lift myself out of this poverty of an extended stay. Now that we've got COVID, changing our entire training model was really important so that it can be available in real time so the caseworker and the client move at the client's pace rather than coming to a place altogether, which is no longer possible. And this is sort of internal to St. Vincent de Paul, so I won't go into much detail about that. So that's where the year has brought us, and we definitely have some ideas of future plans. This is more specific to St. Vincent de Paul's goals with it. But I would wrap up by saying, if I connect what Norcross did in 2020 with what they're going to do in 2021, which is they've put forth the same amount of money in the budget for 2021, which is great. We can help more families in the city of Norcross. What I would like to see, Nicole, as a candidate for commission chair, is Gwinnett County to put money to this, because it is not a city of Norcross specific problem. It is a Gwinnett County problem. And then frankly, I would like surrounding counties. Certainly DeKalb County has a big problem with extended stays being permanent, residences for folks. And we need them to step up as well. But Gwinnett has an opportunity to be a leader in Metro Atlanta, the way that Norcross has been in Gwinnett County. And that's really exciting. So that's my presentation. I will stop sharing. And I'm happy to take questions.
That was a very eye-opening presentation, and even just looking at how you were able to come to a solution to address getting people out of the motel programs, out of the motels and into a home program, I should say. It reminds me of what, when I was meeting with the leaders in the city of Norcross, very similar problem is, what they learned was that some of the extended stays were building in their business plans the fact that some of the nonprofits were giving these families money so that they can stay in these extended stay hotels. And so they were leveraging that as a line item. Like, well, if these families are gonna keep getting vouchers from these nonprofits, well, let's build that into our business plan and make that part of our income strategy. And so the city of Norcross recognized that and said, well, that's kind of not what the point is, because you're continuously perpetuating that cycle of families staying in extended stays, and now you're relying on these vouchers. And so they looked at redressing the problem from another angle. But I like how you all came to this solution, and how the city of Norcross said, you know what, we're going to step up and invest in this for our city. So now my question is, because now we talk about cost and money, and what does a program like this cost? And if we were really going to be serious about meeting this need, and Kathleen and Erica, you both can probably answer this, but what additional funds, from whether it's public sector, private sector, nonprofit lenders, what else can the county do, or how much should we be investing to really move the needle on addressing affordable housing, getting people out of these extended stays into home ownership? What is that?
So if I look at the investment, and this I hope will resonate with you as a social worker, when I think of making an investment, looking at the holistic cost, if you have a family of a mom and a dad, one, two, three children in a room that's smaller than my sunroom, and they're trying to do their schoolwork, and they're trying to rest, and they're trying to sleep, and they're trying to have family conversations, this is not a healthy environment. It's not good for their mental health. It's not good for their physical health. It's not good for their stress levels. And so Norcross looked at it and said, we're going to focus on students, families with students, because that's where we're going to focus. We can't solve the whole problem for all the families living. We're going to start here. Which meant that families in need without children weren't addressed, So I think that if you look at the amount of money that was spent per family, it's less than $2,000. You know, that's $1,980 some odd dollars was what it cost to get these families into an apartment. That's pure finances, which
Minimal.
is a small amount. But the bigger investment is these St. Vincent de Paul caseworkers. And we need more. You don't have to be Catholic. I'm not Catholic, I'm an atheist. You know, anybody can become a St. Vincent de Paul caseworker. You have to be trained to do it. You have to make that investment of time, you know, time, talent, treasure. The treasure, you know, is $2,000 a family to get them out. The time, commit to a year to doing it. The talent is mercy and grace and partnership. And some financial lessons that can be learned by the caseworker as well as the participant. Those are all the talents that you need to make this work, but it's making that commitment as a community. I think that one of the things that the county can do, you know, if they're looking to invest in it, you know, look at how many extended stays we have outside of the city of Norcross. How many of them have families? Start there. So what would that investment look like? Is it 100,000? Is it 500,000? Is it $1 million? I don't know. You pick how big of a pie you deal with. And then it's working with the extended stay owners to identify the families in highest need. And then it's working with your apartment complexes to make them step up, be part of it. You know, maybe you don't have to have a first and last and a third month's rent because you had a prior eviction. Maybe reduce one of those so that it's not such a leap to get out of an extended stay. So that if even people weren't part of the program, you know, if they could have all of the trainings that the caseworkers are providing online now, be part of that, the county wouldn't necessarily have to provide the money for other families if they could get apartments to not make that hurdle to get into an apartment so big. You know, so there is, if you want to talk private, you know, because you use this term public private, and I was, it's not private when it's a nonprofit. I don't feel that. I think of private being a company, you know.
That's what I think of private too.
company.
I didn't realize that we're not private investors that were supporting this, but yeah.
Right, and often they are for-profit companies that are either privately held or, you know, you can invest your retirement money in a publicly held company, but they need to be part of the solution. So trying to get those people to be part of this so that it is not just tithe and donations and tax dollars trying to make those investments for people in the program.
And I think, Kathleen, I think you make a very good point when you're talking about bringing in the apartment communities, because that's the other side of it. So we do have some resources, you know, even in our office, we have resources to assist in just what you all are doing, you know, as far as paying those rents or paying security deposits and things like that. Oftentimes we find the problem is we have the money to assist families, but they sometimes don't have anywhere to use that assistance because apartment communities, you know, it's a numbers game. When you look at apartment communities, it's why would I take a challenged individual when I have 6 people that have no challenges? So we understand that, we get it, but it is a community effort that has to be addressed, because living in an extended stay is not permanent housing. It's not healthy. It's not, and it doesn't mean that these people don't have the means to pay for it. And oftentimes they probably have more.
That was the most, was the most painful irony of the survey that we did, was how many of these people would be paying substantially less in rent at an apartment than they pay in an extended stay, but they can't get out.
They can't get over
first and last month's rent, and the first month, if they would even rent to them because they'd had an eviction. I mean, and they can't pay the eviction debt because their their motel is so expensive. I mean, that was just brutal.
We've even had opportunities where apartment communities refuse, even when we're saying we can pay the past due eviction, we can pay twice the security deposit, we have money for this, and it's, well, no, we don't want to work with that particular client. So I do think that our apartment communities, they do owe it to the community. They are a part of the community, just like the people who are living in the extended stays are a part of the community. And it takes an effort from all of us to make a real difference in this.
So so I'm thinking now with my hat as government and Board of Commissioners and how we can address these issues, because you know, a large part of the time the community is like, well, the Board of Commissioner needs to address affordable housing, not realizing that there are all these other layers. You have the apartment community, you have, you know, motel extended stays, you have all of these variables that, you know, it's not just a snap of a finger, we're gonna address affordable housing this way, but what is the charge for leaders in my position, in my presumed position? and I didn't even get to touch on you know, inclusionary zoning and how
right, absolutely
too, you know, because that is something that we can address as a board and as a leadership body. But so yeah, let's speak to that.
That's critical. Is that, you know, I want to talk about a program that one of my best friends lives in a town called Morgan Hill in California. And they have what it's called their BMR program, below market retail. Every development that has gone in that city in the last 20 years has to have a variety of affordability. So she lives in a neighborhood. So her husband's a therapist and she's a teacher. So they are not low income, but for the Bay Area, it's below market. They live in a neighborhood of mansions, but the corner houses have 2 driveways because they're duets. So her house, it looks like, you know, it's connected to this big thing and you don't even realize there's somebody else's house connected to theirs. It is as big as a McMansion, but it houses 2 families. And so they bought into this. They paid their below market rate. They have to stay in the house for 30 years. If they want to sell it out of market, anytime they sell it earlier, it has to go back into the below market retail program. If you make a variety of affordability in every single development, whether it's houses, whether it's apartments, whether it's McMansion, square footage, then you mix economic levels,
right,
which helps to desegregate our communities in other ways.
Absolutely.
And that is absolutely a county commission can do, because the developer gets just as much money on the square footage of a 5,000 square foot house as he does on a connected 2,500 duet. So that's absolutely
good to know.
And the whole, it's not as beautiful. Yes, it is. It's just as beautiful as every other McMansion on the street.
Exactly. That's a great point, and I'm glad that you brought that up, Nicole, with the inclusionary zoning. That's one of the important cornerstones of this affordability piece, because it's not going to happen, and we've seen that it's not going to happen just by pleading to people, hey, let's do this for the good of you know, for goodwill. So that inclusionary zoning is important, and then just regular zoning policies. Sometimes those regular zoning policies preclude us from making housing affordable. So if we have, you know, setback requirements and lot size requirements and things like that, sometimes those are extended, so they're large, and sometimes larger than they need to be, and that by nature increases the amount of the home, so making it therefore less affordable. So these are things that that we can look at as a government. So those are some things that we can.
Yeah, and there's a value in not segregating communities by income, because, you know, when you have predominantly low income communities in certain parts of the county, will you create food deserts? Because what I've learned is Publix or Kroger won't go into a neighborhood, won't go into a community below a certain income level. So then you create food deserts, and grocery stores won't go there. And we see that all across Norcross. And I took a tour of that area, and because there's pockets of poverty, they don't have a grocery store. And this is outside unincorporated Norcross. They don't have a grocery store where they can get to easily. They have to drive across the other side of the county. You also create economic deserts because other businesses won't move into that community as well when they're looking at the income level. You don't have high-end restaurants. You don't have other convenience stores. You don't have other, but you have convenience stores and gas stations. That's where people are going to get their day-to-day
groceries.
Groceries and
as a mom with students in Title I schools, I can tell you it makes a difference in the economic, the community economic support for a school. That even we're all the same Gwinnett County public school system, but there are some big differences in funding to our clusters.
Yes, it all plays a role in that. So this conversation is very refreshing and energizing because it just tells me that I've actually been on the right track in talking about what I need to be doing, and addressing and updating our zoning policies and reflecting inclusionary zoning, looking at where people are now with they're precariously housed and how we can get those families out of those situations and into home ownership, because it also helps the community, it helps the county, it helps our tax base, it helps, it filters into everything else. And then addressing homelessness too, and not from a precariously housed situation, but from those who are absolutely unhoused. And I couldn't get Matt on here to talk about the Home First program. We'll have him another time. But that is another issue that needs to be addressed, is the homeless population and how we're addressing that. And I know the county has been putting some investments there. But I do think that we should be strategic and looking at this from a holistic standpoint. And we have to make those smart investments and update those policies and work with the development community and work with our nonprofit and public providers too, if there's opportunities for additional investment into funding to support these efforts. United Way would come to the table with some investment dollars as well. I'm excited and I'm looking forward to really moving the needle on this. And I'm talking fast because I'm looking at the time. And I told y'all this conversation goes by so fast, and it's such an important topic. So, and Erica and Kathleen, if anybody has any other questions about the programs that you all offer, how can they get in touch with you? Erica, please share the website information as well.
Sure.
And then I will make sure that I get that in the comment section, but we'll start with you, Erica.
Okay. So if anybody's interested in the programs that we run out of the community development program, you can find us on GwinnettCounty.com. The best way to reach us, the website's a little long when you put all of the /. So the best way to do it is to just go to GwinnettCounty.com and do a search for CDBG, like cat, dog, boy, girl. So you'll do a search for that and we'll pop right up. So we have lots of information there. If you have questions, you can give us a call. Our phone number is 678-518-6008. And then I'll share just our general email box with you, Nicole, and you can get that out for everyone if they have questions, and I'll share the short link for the website as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest, and appreciate you sharing all that wealth of information. And I'm looking forward to working with you and really amplifying the work that you do and making sure that we bring partners to the table to really start investing and being more strategic about how we leverage the CDBG division. Thank you.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you.
And safe travels.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Nicole, for giving us the opportunity to tell you about the Motel to Home program and to share our hopes for Gwinnett County in 2021.
Thank you, Kathleen, and I really appreciate you being here. And if there's any information, or if people want to reach you for questions or to learn more about this Hotel to Home program, where should they go?
So the best way is to route it to the United Way of Greater Atlanta. Greater Atlanta, United Way of Greater Atlanta, or St. Vincent de Paul. I'm a volunteer, but I don't actually work for either of those organizations, so I'm just a private party, and I'm not actually willing to give out my phone number on Facebook. Yeah.
Understood.
But if they really want to know, those are the two, because they can help. Pro Team B Swiss is phenomenally supportive at United Way, and Robin Williams there, so they can get
fantastic. Excellent. I'll make sure to connect both of those two resources, and we'll continue to grow and spread and expand this awesome program and look at ways that we could partner and expand it to unincorporated Gwinnett, because there's a great need on that side as well. So thank you for sharing what a great program that was, and I look forward to working with you as the chair. And this is my my passion as well. And yes, social workers, we care about all things, and we care about our community. And so I look forward to having you on board to help with these projects as we roll these out. So thank you again, Kathleen. Thank you, Erica. I appreciate you both. I wish you a safe and happy weekend. Enjoy a little bit of sunshine. And for those of you who tuned in, thank you for sitting through this presentation, which will be recorded and shared on social media. Again, the information will be reshared on my Facebook page on how you can learn more about these programs. Remember, early voting is underway through October 30th. And I ask for your vote. I'm always going to call to action and ask for your vote on early voting or on election day, or if you want to vote absentee. And you can learn more about my campaign and my platform at loveforgwinnett.com. Next week, we are going to be focusing on sustainability. And so we're going to have representatives from the sustainability community to talk about all things recycling, environment, green space, how we can be more environmentally conscious, and how we can build that and weave that into our future plans as a governing body. And so looking forward to that conversation as well. Thank you again for tuning in and for your supporting Team Love for Gwinnett. And so we are going to be signing off, and until next week. All right, bye y'all.